Hey, what's up everybody? I'd like to welcome you to another Juice tutorial. And in this tutorial, what we're going to do is we're going to start creating our parameters so we can actually start creating our UI and allow users to actually control some of their parameters for their synthesizer. So before we get started, be sure to check out the audio programmer community. It's a great place to connect with other audio developers and ask questions and help other audio programmers out and network with them as well. And you can join us on the audioprogrammer.com/community. So let's go ahead and get started, and we're just going to come back to this project that we've done already up to this point. So at this point we don't really have a UI or anything. We just have a synthesizer that is able to play a sound from a MIDI note. And what we want to do is we want to actually give the user the ability to actually start controlling some of these parameters, maybe switch some oscillators, change their attack, decay, sustain, release parameters and things like that. So first thing that we want to do is we want to decide which parameters we would like our users to be able to control. So the best way to do this is with the audio processor value tree state. So we want to find a set of parameters that we want the user to modify. We want to create those parameters in the audio processor value tree state where we will give them the range of what we want those choices to be, and then we will connect those over to the UI. And I'll probably split this tutorial into two parts. So if you're not familiar with the audio processor value tree state, I would highly encourage you to check out tutorial 7 in this Juice 6 playlist. That will give you all the information that you need to know to actually start setting this up yourself and really understand the mentality behind why we're actually doing this. So let me just go back to the documentation here, and we will go to the audio processor value tree state. And so we're just going to create this object here, and I'm going to breeze through some of this. So what I'll do is I will probably fast forward through the part where I actually create the parameters in the audio processor value tree state object. So you don't have to sit here and watch me do that. That's going to take a little while. But watch tutorial 7 if you're not sure exactly why we're actually doing this, and I will be right back. Okay, so now we've created our audio processor value tree state and our parameter layout. So now what we would like to do is think about what sort of parameters that we would like the user to control. So far we have a synth voice, and in here what we have is we have an oscillator, and what we could do is we could create a combo box that would be able to switch between a sine oscillator, sol, and a square oscillator. So let's go ahead and just maybe put a comment here. So combo box, switch oscillators. And we also have this ADSR that we've created in our synth voice, and we will want to control that. So we will need separate attack, decay, sustain, and release parameters. So we will need attack, decay, sustain, and release. So those are fine. These are all going to be floats. And what we'll do now is, I don't think that I actually showed you how to do a combo box parameter in my audio processor value tree state tutorial. So I'll walk through that with you right now. And so the first thing that we need to do is make a std vector of std unique pointer of Juice audio parameter. What did we call that again? I think it's generic audio parameter. Let's see here. Audio parameter. So we have audio parameter choice. That's what we're going to need, and it's called ranged audio parameter. So ranged audio parameter. That will be params. And then here we could just say params push back. So we're just adding parameters to our parameter list. And so what we wanted was a audio parameter choice. So this is what we will use for a combo box. So what we need to say is we need to copy all of this, and we will say stood make unique, and this is going to be a Juce audio parameter choice. And in here we need to put all of our arguments. So I've just pasted that from the documentation. So we just need a ID. So this will be called OSC. I'll just put it for oscillator. I need to get rid of that parentheses as well. And then I'll just put oscillator. And then here we could create a string array of choices. So we would want sine, sol, and square waves. So let's go to the string array documentation. String array. So let's see, how can we do this? So we got string array, and there should be like an add. Yeah, here we go. So let's do this. I think we can do this in line, but I'm going to try to do it like this. Let me see if I can do it like this. Juice, string array, and then sine, sol, square. I'm not sure if I can actually initialize it like that, but we'll try it. And then the initial default item index is going to be 0. And then this will be all of this other stuff we don't need, I don't believe. So that should be fine, I hope. So let's see here. And then we should be able to say return params dot begin, params dot end. Let's see if that works. Okay, great. So that worked just fine. So now we have our combo box. So this is going to be a place where our user can actually select what oscillator that they're going to have. And then let's make some attack, decay, sustain, release parameters. So I'll just make a comment here that'll just say ADSR. And then this will be OSC select. Get rid of all this now. And then we'll do params, push back. And I'll fast forward through this since it's just an audio parameter float that we're doing. And I showed you how to do that in the audio processor value tree state tutorial. So I will be right back. Okay, and we're back, and I've just created all these audio parameter floats. So we have attack, decay, sustain, and release, and I've given them a range of 0.1 to 1.0 and made the default 0.1 except for the sustain. So I've made it where when you hit the default, when you hit a key, the sustain will be 1.0, so it will stay the velocity will stay consistent or the game will stay consistent as long as you're pressing the key. And then I've given the release a default of 0.4, which will give it a little bit of a tail so it doesn't just cut off right away as the default. And I've given a release max of 3.0, which will be 3 seconds. So when you release the key, then you will have 3 seconds of release time as the max. So that's fine. So now we've done that. So now let's go over to our plugin editor. And this is the first time that we've actually been messing around with the editor itself. And now what we're going to do is we need to create a couple create a couple sliders that will control the attack, decay, sustain, and release, and we will need to create a combo box that will control the oscillator choice. And now what we need to do is we need to create attachments, and these are the attachments that we will actually use to create the connection between the parameters that we've created in the plugin processor. So we have these parameters that we've created, attack, decay, sustain, release, and the OSC selector. And what we need to do is that this is the data side of the plugin, and we need to connect it over to our UI side. So we will need what are called attachments to actually be able to do that. So we will go over to our audio processor value tree state. So we will start with the slider attachments. So as you can see, it says an object of this class that maintains a connection between a slider and a parameter in your audio processor value tree state. Okay, so we will make these unique pointers. So stood, unique, pointer, and then this is a Juce object, so we need Juce audio processor value tree state. This gets kind of long, by the way, and this is a slider attachment, and this will be attack attachment. Okay, and then something that I like to do when you run into these things that are quite long, I will do something like this using slider attachment equals, and then that equals all of this business. So this makes the code a lot cleaner. And see, that looks a lot cleaner, doesn't it? So now what I could do is I could do that with the decay attachment, the sustain attachment, and the release attachment. So I'm just going to compile this, make sure I actually did all of this right. Great, so we got build succeeded, so we're all fine there. So just to review what I've done there, I've used this keyword using slider attachment equals Juce audio processor value tree state slider attachment, and that just makes it a little bit cleaner when you're trying to read the code. To me, it makes it cleaner anyway. And then we just need one combo box attachment. So we have stood, unique, pointer, and this will be Juce audio processor value tree state combo box attachment. Since we have just one of those, we don't need to do the using. So OSC select attachment. Great. So some of you may be asking, well, why have a unique pointer? So a unique pointer allows us to maintain, ensure that when this memory is allocated, that once we go out of scope, so if you actually close out the UI, when you close out your UI, your plugin editor actually destroys and it doesn't exist anymore. So what it does is that it actually marks that memory now as free to use. So it actually frees up memory. And that's the reason why we're using unique pointers here. You can do the same thing for the sliders as well. You can make those unique pointers as well. I'm just going to try to keep it simple, or else it's going to become a very long process. So now what we need to do is we need to actually go and create the attachments between this and the audio processor value tree state. So now we're going to go to our editor, and I've just pasted all this stuff here. I'm just going to erase it. And now this is where we actually in code make the connection between what's happening with the data, all of the kind of hard math that's happening in the background, and what's happening with our UI. So what we need to do is we need to allocate this memory using std make unique. So we will say std make unique, and then funny enough, we actually need to take all of this. We need to take this line of code and we're going to copy it again, so we once again don't have to write all of this out every single time. So you can, if you want, like if you want to write this out every time for each one of these, that's fine. I just find it that it's easier to read when you're actually reading back through it. So now we have a slider attachment, and we need a reference to the audio processor value tree state that's living in our plugin processor. We need the parameter ID, which is the string that we created when we created the parameter, and we're linking it to the slider. So we're actually saying, okay, here's the audio processor value tree state. Here is the ID of the parameter that we're looking for, and this is the slider that we want to connect it to. So first thing I want to do is go back to the plugin processor, and I currently have the APVTS in my private, in the private part of my class. What I'm going to do is, just to make this easier, I'm going to put this in the public part of my class. Now, normally what I would do is I would have a separate method that would do that and keep APVTS private, but I'm just going to keep it simple for now. So now what we need to do is we need to do this, go back to the editor.cpp, and we just need to paste these arguments in here. So we have the audio processor value tree state to use. So once again, audio processor value tree state is residing in the plugin processor. And now we just need to actually access that. And the way we could do that is, if you look down here, and I'm going to put this down here actually, we have this reference, and we know it's a reference because it has the ampersand. So this is a reference to our audio processor. So it's a reference to our actual plugin processor. That's what's going to allow us to have access to the APVTS. And once again, I explained that in the audio processor value tree state tutorial. So what we need here is processor, APVTS. Did I do that right? One moment. Audio processor. So APVTS And then we have our string. So we got, this is our parameter ID, this one right here. So we got attack, decay, sustain, and release. So here we are. And now we just need to attach it to the actual slider itself. So we have this attack slider. That's what we're, okay. And then now I can do this for the decay, sustain, and release. So I will just fast forward through all this. There you go. So now we just need to do the combo box attachment. So once again, this is a std make unique. This is going to be a Juce audio processor value tree state combo box attachment. Now we just need to look at the documentation for that. So where is it? Combo box attachment. Once again, same sort of thing. The audio processor value tree state, the string that the parameter that we're looking for, and the combo box we want to attach it to. So this will be OSC, I believe. So going back, so yes, it's OSC. And then we have OSC selector. So that's it. And that's where I'm going to actually leave this tutorial for now. And I'm going to do a part 2 where we actually create the sliders and create the combo boxes and actually make sounds. So I'm going to stop for now, and I will see you in the next tutorial.